My family kicked me out at 18, calling me a lazy loser who'd never succeed. 10 years later, I bought their failing company, and now I'm firing every single one of them personally. I grew up in a family of business people. My parents owned a mid-sized furniture company, and since I was a kid, I heard that one day it would all belong to my older brother. I, on the other hand, was the lazy one, the one who lacked ambition. In school, I wasn't exactly the best student. I struggled with math and spent most of my time drawing in class. My parents constantly told me I'd never amount to anything if I kept that up. My older brother, however, was the golden child, straight A's, class monitor, and already helping with the family business by the time he was 16. At 17, I discovered my passion for design. I'd spend hours sketching unique furniture, trying to create something different. One day, I showed my drawings to my dad and suggested we could launch a new line at the company. He laughed in my face and told me to stop dreaming and start doing some real work. On my 18th birthday, instead of a party, I got an ultimatum: either start working in the company as a regular employee, cleaning the factory floors, or move out. I said I wanted to study design in college. My dad responded that he wouldn't pay for a worthless degree. That night, they held a family meeting. My uncles, cousins, everyone was there. My dad announced that I was a disappointment and that he was kicking me out to teach me how to be a man. No one objected. Not even my mom. I left with nothing but a backpack of clothes and the $200 I had saved up. For the first few weeks, I slept on friends' couches and did odd jobs to get by. Eventually, I got a job at a small woodworking shop. The owner, Mr. Roberto, saw my sketches and, unlike my family, was impressed. Not only did he give me a chance, but he also taught me everything about woodworking. In my free time, he let me use the shop to create my own designs. After a year, he even helped me get a scholarship to study design. During college, I worked 3 jobs to support myself. In my spare time, I kept designing and perfecting my craft. In my final year, one of my projects won an International Furniture Design Award. After graduation, I used the prize as leverage to attract investors. I started my own furniture brand, focusing on unique and sustainable pieces. Within 5 years, my company became one of the largest in the industry. During all this time, I had no contact with my family. Through acquaintances, I heard that their company was struggling. My brother, the prodigy, had taken over from my dad but couldn't keep up with the changing market. They were still making the same outdated furniture designs from 20 years ago. 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the bank. My family's company was up for sale due to massive debt. I didn't hesitate. Through a shell company, I bought it outright. Yesterday, I walked into the office that used to belong to my dad. My brother was there, along with my parents. They had no idea I was the buyer. When they saw me, they turned pale. All employees will be individually evaluated by the new owner, I said. Starting now. I called my brother in first. I laid out all the management mistakes he'd made over the past few years. I fired him on the spot. Then it was my dad's turn. He tried to argue that he had 30 years of experience. I pointed out that in 30 years, he hadn't created anything new, innovated, or adapted. He's out too. As for the rest of the family, uncles, cousins, they'll all be personally fired by me in the coming days. Not out of revenge, but because they're incompetent. The company needs fresh blood. My mom cried, saying I couldn't do this to the family. I told her family is the people who stood by me when I was sleeping on park benches, not the ones who kicked me out of the house. The only person I'm keeping is the janitor, Jose. He was the only one who helped me when I first left, secretly giving me food in those early days. The company will be completely revamped. The building where I grew up hearing I was a loser will now produce my award-winning designs. And that family meeting where they humiliated me? I'm hosting another one. This time, to announce that I bought the company and that they're all fired. Maybe I'm being cruel, but I learned from the best. Edit 1. A lot of people are asking about Mr. Roberto from the woodworking shop. He retired last year, but now he's a special consultant for my company. And yes, he'll be at the family meeting to witness everything. The family meeting was set for Friday evening at the company's main conference room. I made sure to arrive early, watching through the security cameras as they filtered in one by one. Their faces were a mix of confusion and worry. They hadn't been in this room since that night 10 years ago when they cast me out. Mr. Roberto sat beside me, his weathered hands clasping a leather portfolio containing the designs that would transform the company. "You sure about this, kid?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. I nodded, straightening my tie. The room fell silent as I walked in. My brother, usually so confident in his expensive suit, couldn't meet my eyes. My father's face was red with barely contained anger. My mother clutched her handbag like a shield. The uncles and cousins who had once sneered at my sketches now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Before we begin," I said, standing at the head of the table where my father used to hold court, "I'd like to introduce someone." Mr. Roberto stepped in, and I saw recognition flash across my father's face. He had once dismissed Roberto's shop as that little hobby workshop downtown. I projected our new designs onto the wall, sleek, sustainable furniture that had already garnered pre-orders worth millions. This is the future of the company, I announced. The past decade, while you were clinging to outdated designs, the market was evolving. Our competitors embraced change while you stagnated in tradition. My brother finally spoke up. You can't just throw away 30 years of family history. Family history? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let's talk about family history. Jose? The janitor entered, now wearing a crisp suit. Meet your new head of operations, I announced. Jose has spent the last decade studying business management in night school while working here. He knows this company better than any of you. My mother began to cry, but I continued. However, I'm not completely heartless. Each of you will receive a severance package, including job placement assistance. And I paused, reaching into my briefcase. I'm establishing a scholarship fund in the company's name for art and design students who come from unsupportive families. The room erupted in protests and pleas, but I held up my hand. There's one more thing. I turned to Mr. Roberto. Would you like to tell them about our new apprenticeship program? Roberto stepped forward, describing how we would partner with local schools to provide opportunities for young designers and craftspeople. The same opportunities I had been denied. As the meeting concluded, my father stood up, his face unreadable. You've become quite the businessman, he said quietly. No, I corrected him. I've become quite the designer who learned how to run a business. There's a difference. Later that evening, as I sat in my new office, formerly my father's, Mr. Roberto brought in 2 cups of coffee, just like he used to in his workshop. You know, he said, looking out at the factory floor where workers were already implementing our new designs, success isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. I smiled, picking up a framed sketch from my desk, my first furniture design, drawn in the back of that high school classroom where I'd been labeled a dreamer. Why not both? In the months that followed, the company's transformation made headlines in the design world. The old storage room where I used to hide and draw was converted into an innovation lab for young designers. Jose's operational changes streamlined production, and our sustainable practices earned industry awards. My family? Last I heard, my brother started a small consulting firm. My parents retired to a modest house in the suburbs. Sometimes, during late nights at the office, I catch myself wondering if they ever look at our furniture in stores and remember the sketches they once laughed at. But mostly, I focus on the future. Every morning, I walk past the wall of photographs in our lobby, images of apprentices working alongside experienced craftsmen, their faces bright with possibility. And in the center, there's a simple framed sketch of a chair, signed by a teenage boy who dared to dream differently. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about legacy. And sometimes, the best legacy comes from the dreams others tried to dismiss. 6 months after the takeover, I received an unexpected visitor. My sister-in-law, Sarah, stood in my office doorway, holding my 5-year-old niece Emma's hand. I had never met Emma before, she was born after I was kicked out. I know we're not supposed to be here, Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly, but Emma has something she wants to show you. The little girl approached my desk shyly, clutching a rolled-up piece of paper. She carefully unfolded it to reveal a crayon drawing of what looked like a rainbow-colored chair with wings. Mommy says you make special chairs, she said. I made one too. Something caught in my throat as I looked at the drawing. It reminded me so much of my own childhood sketches, the ones that had been dismissed and ridiculed. But here was my niece, already showing the same creative spark. This is beautiful, Emma, I said, kneeling down to her level. Would you like to see how we make special chairs here? Her eyes lit up as I gave them a tour of the innovation lab. Sarah explained that my brother had been struggling with depression since losing his position, barely leaving their house. He won't admit it, she said quietly while Emma explored the design tablets with one of our young apprentices, but he keeps a magazine article about your latest collection on his nightstand. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Emma's drawing, about cycles of family hurt, about the fine line between justice and vengeance. The next morning, I made a decision. I created a new position, Director of Heritage Integration. The role would involve preserving and honoring the company's history while helping guide its evolution into the future. I offered it to my brother. The email I sent him was simple: the past and future don't have to be enemies. They can learn from each other. Your office has a desk for Emma to draw at. If you're interested. 3 days later, he accepted. It wasn't an immediate fairy tale ending. The first few months were tense, filled with awkward silences and careful navigation of old wounds. But slowly, something started to change. My brother's business acumen, freed from the weight of tradition, proved valuable in scaling our innovative designs. He started bringing Emma to the office on Saturdays, where she would spend hours in the innovation lab, her imagination running wild. 1 year after the takeover, we launched the Heritage Collection, a line that merged traditional craftsmanship with modern design. It became our most successful launch ever. The centerpiece? A chair inspired by Emma's crayon drawing, refined through collaboration between my brother and me. Mr. Roberto, watching us work together on the prototype, just smiled and shook his head. Family, he said, is like wood. Sometimes it needs to break apart before it can be rebuilt into something stronger. My parents still haven't spoken to me, and some wounds may never fully heal. But last week, I received a letter from my mother. Inside was a yellowed piece of paper, one of my old furniture sketches that she had secretly kept all these years. On the back, she had written just 3 words: "You proved us wrong." I framed it and hung it next to Emma's crayon drawing in my office. 2 generations of dreamers, bridging the gap between what was and what could be. The company continues to grow, but now it's growing in a different way. Every quarter, we host a future furniture competition for local school children. The winners get their designs displayed in our showroom alongside our professional pieces. Jose runs a mentorship program for first-generation college students. My brother has started teaching business classes to our design apprentices. And me? I'm learning that sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying the old, but about building something new, something big enough to hold both the pain of the past and the promise of the future. Mr. Roberto still brings me coffee every morning, though now he's officially our chief innovation mentor. We often talk about that night 10 years ago when I showed up at his workshop, angry and homeless. "You know what I saw in you then?" he asked me recently. "Not just talent. I saw someone who needed to prove something to themselves, not just to others." He was right, as usual. In the end, this story isn't just about furniture, or family, or even success. It's about finding the courage to rebuild, not just a company, but yourself. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to help others rebuild too. Emma's rainbow chair sits in my office now, a real prototype based on her crayon drawing. It's become something of a symbol around here, a reminder that the most beautiful designs often come from the most unexpected places. And every time I look at it, I'm reminded that while the past may shape us, it doesn't have to define us. The future, after all, is always waiting to be designed. 5 years later, Emma's magnetic levitation chair concept had evolved into something none of us could have predicted. She'd partnered with a young engineer from our scholarship program to create adaptive furniture that responded to users' needs in real time. The floating elements she'd dreamed up as a child now served a profound purpose, helping people with mobility challenges maintain their independence. My father, now in his 70s, had become a regular fixture in our innovation lab. His woodworking program at the nursing home had sparked something unexpected, a cross-generational design initiative we called Wisdom in Wood. Twice a week, seniors from his program would visit our facility to work with our youngest designers. The collisions of perspective were remarkable, traditional joinery techniques meeting AI-assisted design, stories of the past inspiring visions of the future. David had taken the Heritage Collection in a surprising new direction. After discovering our grandfather's old journal in the attic, he'd found sketches for pieces that were never built, furniture that seemed decades ahead of its time. Working with our digital archives team, he'd created a virtual museum where people could explore our family's design evolution through augmented reality. Visitors could sit in chairs from every era, experiencing the subtle changes in form and function that told our story. Mr. Roberto's corner had grown into an entire wing of the building. Though he'd officially retired, he still came in 3 days a week to hold what he called his possibility sessions. Designers from around the world would visit, bringing their most challenging problems. He'd listen quietly, sipping coffee from his ever-growing collection of Emma design mugs, then ask one simple question that would unlock everything. What if you looked at it from the chair's perspective? My mother's sticky notes had evolved into a book project, Notes from the Edge of Design, a collection of family stories, design wisdom, and the small moments of grace that had helped us heal. She wrote about the years of silence, the weight of unspoken words, and the unexpected way a child's rainbow chair had built a bridge across the divide. The book's launch event was held in our rooftop garden, where 3 generations of our family sat together for the first time in decades. Jose's cultural exchange program had spawned a global network. We now had partner studios in 12 countries, each exploring the intersection of traditional craftsmanship and modern innovation. Every quarter, we would hold a virtual design summit where artisans from different cultures would collaborate on pieces that told multiple stories at once. A chair might feature Japanese joinery, Scandinavian minimalism, and African textile patterns, creating something entirely new yet deeply rooted in tradition. Emma, now 12, had started her own mentoring program for younger children. Design Dreamers met every Saturday morning in our innovation lab, where kids from local schools would bring their wildest furniture ideas. Nothing was dismissed as impossible. Instead, the challenge became finding ways to transform seemingly impossible dreams into reality. One 8-year-old's concept for a storytelling chair that created different environments through projected light had become our latest breakthrough product. The old storage room wall, covered in generations of sketches, had been digitally scanned and turned into an interactive installation. Visitors could touch any sketch and hear the story behind it, told by the designer themselves. My old drawings were there, alongside Emma's earliest concepts, Mr. Roberto's teaching sketches, and the evolving visions of every designer who'd found their way to us. It had become a living history of imagination. Sarah's social media series about Emma had evolved into a full-fledged documentary project, The Future of Family Business. Film crews followed different family companies around the world as they navigated the challenges of tradition, innovation, and generational change. Our story was just one thread in a larger tapestry of families finding new ways to grow together through creativity and understanding. The scholarship program had its first full-circle moment when Maria Chen, one of our original scholarship recipients, returned as head of our new biomimicry division. She brought with her a revolutionary approach to sustainable furniture design, studying nature's solutions to complex problems. Her team's latest project involved chairs that could regulate temperature and humidity naturally, inspired by termite mounds and desert plants. My father's presence in the building had slowly shifted from occasional visitor to integral part of our creative process. He'd set up a small workshop next to the innovation lab, where he spent hours working with his hands, teaching anyone who wanted to learn. One day, I found him showing Emma how to feel the grain of wood, just as his father had shown him. The wood remembers, he told her, and so do we. But we get to choose what we do with those memories. The company's transformation had become a case study in business schools, but not for the reasons anyone expected. They weren't interested in our profit margins or market share, they wanted to understand how a family business had turned personal healing into a force for industry-wide change. Guest lectures often included 3 generations of our family, each sharing their perspective on how design could be a language of reconciliation. Last month, we broke ground on our most ambitious project yet, the Center for Future Craft. The building, designed collaboratively by our entire extended family, would house workshops, research facilities, and community spaces. But its heart would be a circular room we called The Gathering. Here, craftspeople from all traditions could share their knowledge, students could explore new possibilities, and families could learn to build more than just furniture together. Emma's family tree of chairs had grown. She'd added new elements to represent every person who'd become part of our story: Mr. Roberto's Corner, Jose's Cultural Bridges, Maria's Natural Innovations. It's not just about us anymore, she explained, adding a new branch. It's about everyone who dreams of making something that brings people together. In the quiet moments, when the day's work is done and the building slowly empties, I often find myself back in that transformed storage room. The wall of sketches glows softly in the evening light, each drawing a testament to the power of perseverance and the courage to imagine something better. Sometimes David joins me there, or Emma, or even our father. We sit in comfortable silence, adding our own new drawings to the legacy wall, each of us contributing to a design that grows more beautiful with every generation. As Mr. Roberto always says, the most important designs are the ones that make space for tomorrow's dreams. Looking at our extended family, not just those connected by blood, but all who've become part of our story, I understand what he means. We're all still sketching, still learning, still finding new ways to build bridges and chairs and futures, together. The rainbow chair that started it all sits in our lobby, surrounded by the countless designs it inspired. But now I understand that its real magic wasn't in its colors or its construction. It was in its ability to show us that the most powerful transformations often start with the simplest dreams: a child's wish to create something beautiful, a family's courage to change, and the hope that in building something new, we might also rebuild ourselves.